Welcome to the Backstage Leadership Conversations, a podcast series by the digital tourism think tank in collaboration with Abu Dhabi Business Events Week, organized by Abu Dhabi's Culture and Tourism Department. I'm Nick Hall, and in this series, we'll explore the post-pandemic trends in business travel, focusing on key areas such as technology, impact, sustainability, and recovery. Ready to jump into today's episode? Stay tuned to learn more about how Abu Dhabi is helping the MICE sector to thrive. In this episode, we'll dive into how we can further the competitiveness of the MICE sector with Paul Rulkens, the High-Performance Mastermind. As an international professional speaker, he helps organizations turn their big ideas into huge actions. His expertise is high performance, the ability to consistently achieve big goals with less effort, focusing on building high-performance teams, driving innovation, and accelerating executive power. Acknowledging Paul's wealth of expertise for over 20 years, during which he's advised, supported, and provided thought leadership to many all over the world, I started the conversation by focusing on Abu Dhabi's Department of Culture and Tourism and their goal to become one of the leading meetings and events destinations worldwide, and how this can be achieved. This is a key question that we wanted to answer, as it will be a journey that's going to require a transition as well as huge investment, both in product but also in people, capabilities, and the overall mindset we adopt as an industry.
If you typically look at goals, ambitious goals, and I love this ambition, thinking big. I love thinking big. Here's the thing that you need to realize: that is 70% of all strategic initiatives fail to achieve their intended goals. So those are the odds, right? And the question is, of course, what is it that you can do to improve on those odds? Now, typically, if you want to improve on those odds, there are three areas you need to focus on. First, you need to be very clear about what you want to achieve. Clarity. Yeah? So that's the first area. The second area is you need to maintain focus. And there are a million ways of achieving your goal, but few of them will only give you energy, will connect to actually your strength. So focus is very important. Second leg. And the third leg is execution, getting it done. So what is your system or process to every day make steps towards your goals? And if you focus on clarity, focus, and execution, those are the three building blocks which prevent your strategy from failing.
After hearing about those keys laid out by Paul, having a better understanding of what the consequences are of any of those components missing and how it might inadvertently create a disjointed approach that prevents the destination from achieving its bigger goal is a really key thing to try and understand. Here's how Paul sees this.
Typically what happens, for example, if you lack clarity, typically you will find organizations which are running very hard, but they haven't set a direction. So they are all over the place, very busy, but little achievement. Organizations which are unable to focus try to do everything at once. So instead of a spear tip, you have some kind of broad tsunami and nothing gets done. And finally, organizations which are unable to execute, they stay in the brainstorm phase, in the idea generation phase, but they have trouble testing new ideas and helping to put action into practice to achieve some tangible goals. So you need all three: clarity, focus, and execution.
Being aware of the fail rate mentioned by Paul, it's also important to consider the three elements that he mentions and how even for very ambitiously driven businesses, missing one of those components can lead to their downfall. Moving from this discussion point, I asked him about values. These are becoming increasingly relevant in today's world, which is why I wanted to get his opinion on how destinations can incorporate values across those three pillars while creating differentiation.
And I look at value from two perspectives. First of all, value creation, and the second perspective is the value, the way you do things. Those are the behaviors. And let me touch both elements here. Here are the mindsets. The mindset, if you talk about high performance, first of all, what has got you here will no longer get you there. If you want to have results you've never had before, you need to start doing things you've never done before. But the second idea is you don't have to be sick in order to get better. So the thinking is, if you talk about value creation, it is not about trying to compensate weaknesses, but it is about building on strength. And this is very important also for destinations. What are my strengths and what is it I can do to become 10 times stronger at the stuff I am already very strong at, instead of trying to compensate all kind of weakness, which I perhaps have. So there's a very important thing. If you talk about mindsets, if you talk about values, if you talk about value creation, it's about building on strength. And this is how you can take the next step. And then the third element is you will never get the new results that you want from the existing behaviors that you like. As new results that you want from the existing behaviors that you like. The results that you have are the outcome of the behaviors that you show consistently. So if you want to achieve different goals, apply a different strategy, the question is, which type of behaviors do I need to build in order to create value? And for example, one behavior is behavior: am I playing to win or am I playing not to lose? Playing to win versus playing not to lose. And what you typically see is organizations which are playing to win do very different things than organizations who play not to lose. They are defensive. They try to keep what they already have. So these mindsets, these behaviors are essential if you want to create value and take the next step in strategy and strategy execution.
I thought this point was almost an oxymoron, as on one hand, we need to build enough on current strengths to become stronger without looking for pockets that we're weak on in order to reinforce and maintain our position as leading actors. Yet on the other hand, we need to apply the same principles to the mindset aspect in order to bridge existing gaps and keep fresh thinking about opportunities on the horizon.
I think I think there's an excellent point about mindset. If you talk about building on strength, it's about focusing on the behaviors which will drive value. The other side is to get rid of the behaviors which mask your strength as a leader, mask your strength as an individual. For example, one of the behaviors I often see in leaders, even very successful ones, is the behavior of listening to reply instead of listening to understand. And because if a leader listens to understand, he has got a very different mindset, a very different outcome than the leaders who listen to reply. So those behaviors which mask your strength, look at your organization, look at your leadership, and what can you do to change those behaviors in order to flourish, in order to build on your strength. And so there's an interesting perspective there as well from a high performance point of view.
I thought this was a very interesting capability and something that can truly strengthen the leadership approach of an executive team by having that sense of humility and the ability to reflect and truly consider everything, to which Paul added the following.
This is about the second phase of leadership. It's about developing others. It's about developing your organization. And the thinking is, if as an organization you want to improve to the outside world, the first step is to improve your inside world. As within, so without. So the way you do things internally is also the way you do things externally. And I'll give you an example from a destination point of view. One of the keys for destination to grow is to fall in love with your client, to fall in love with your customer, instead of falling in love with your product, or processes or system. Yeah, so that distinction is very important. Now, if you want to improve falling in love with your client, the trick is to improve internally on that behavior. So ask yourself as a leader, hey, where are we internally in love with our processes, while in reality we should be in love with our clients? And this will help not only to improve internally, but especially externally to achieve your strategic goals.
Following Paul's insights, I thought he presented a key learning that many will be able to take on board to think about how we can create a true sense of passion and a connection with what we do, so that we can then relay that in a very natural sense to our customers in an outward-facing way. We moved the discussion then on to look at the MICE sector, which in 2022 has been valued at $1.2 billion globally, which of course demonstrates its huge size, but also that the sector is recovering pretty well. Nonetheless, this also means that in today's world, we need to be sharper in how we seize that opportunity and craft our position within it, as the opportunity and size of the market are considerable, but at the same time, competitiveness and getting cut through represent real challenges. In the case of Abu Dhabi, we can see that the destination has adopted a huge sense of ambition and vision, which are paired with very significant investments and projects that sit behind these. So I asked Paul how, in such a situation, we can help to see where the competitive edge might exist and how that can be built up alongside this huge ambition and the notable investments which have already taken place.
Here is one of the keys. If you typically look at high performance organization, and this is also very applicable to the destination industry. The key for high performance is strategic quitting. And what it actually means is your ability to strategically quit equals your ability to massively succeed. So what I mean by that is taking the next step. It's not about more and better and faster and more projects. No, no, no. It's about taking out everything which will no longer support your ambition, which mask your strength. Yeah. So applying strategic quitting is one of the key elements that leaders in high performance organizations do consistently. They look at the entire organization and they say, if we want to achieve this strategy, if we want to achieve these goals, what is it that we need to strategically quit first in order to release the time and the energy and the money and the resources to do different things? And it is a bit counterintuitive, because often what you see, ambitious organizations, we have a big plan, enormous plan. These are the 100 projects we are going to do. But the most important part of strategy is not to decide what to do. The most important part of strategy is to decide what to stop in order to release the time and the money and the resources to do different things. And so if you talk about competitiveness, and the trick to accelerate competitiveness is to simply take a look, what is it that I need to stop in order to release the money, time, resources to build on my strength. And it's a very important thing that leaders and organizations can and should do constantly.
I thought what Paul covered was great in helping others to move forwards towards a greater sense of clarity, but it can also be quite difficult as a result of the systems that exist, the projects that are already in motion, and in the training programs that we run for our teams in industry who are perhaps used to a certain way of doing things day to day, those everyday processes that have allowed them to build up their expertise. So in light of new transformational technologies such as Meta, I decided to challenge him to tell us how, speaking metaphorically, we can turn a ship in a completely different direction to be able to leave some things behind, whilst also reinvesting in having greater clarity of our position and how we might tap into those opportunities where we can truly see potential.
Oh, it's always a challenge. The thing is that is when people start to embrace it, what they see is it is a very fast way to get new results. A couple of things are important here, and it comes back to the point I made earlier. What has got you here will no longer get you there. And so, it's important to start with the realization. Hey, wait a second. It's not about more and better and faster, because there's no light at the end of that tunnel. It's about doing things differently, right? And once you understand that, then you can take a look at your culture, your leadership culture. And one of the distinctions is am I bold or am I busy? Bold versus busy. And bold means, hey, I quit all the stuff which is no longer helping me. Busy is I continue running in my little hamster wheel. Yeah? So am I bold or am I busy? And if you decide, listen, I want to be bold because I got bold plans, then apply strategic quitting in a very systematic way in your organization. And I give you an example how other organizations have done this. COVID, what COVID did, it has revealed a lot. And typically, an exercise I do with other organizations is an exercise I call above the line and below the line. So if you look back at COVID and you look back at your clients, your stakeholders, your vendors, etc., who has been operating above the line, was there for you, was thinking with you, who always picked up the phone, the door was open, and who had been operating below the line. The phone was off the hook, they didn't respond, they were sticking to the contract, yeah, above the line, below the line. And if you make that list and ask yourself 3 years from now, yeah, who do I still want to work with, right? And of course, the answer is everyone above the line. And strategic quitting means, okay, what is it that I need to do now in order to say goodbye to everyone who has been operating below the line. And this is a very powerful way of thinking how I can make my organization, how I can make my team much more robust, much more effective, so I can achieve my strategic goals.
My conversation with Paul was truly enlightening. I was able to gather some really profound advice that I believe many will find truly valuable listening to this episode of the Backstage Leadership Conversations, and hopefully give a lot of food for thought. Paul has spoken about something that is fundamental in Abu Dhabi, which is, as a destination, one that is defined by ambition and clear intent. He's taught us that with this intent come decisions, and decisions that can help define how we can sharpen that even further to refine our destination's unique offering, its unique proposition. And in order to be able to make the right decisions, perhaps, for example, not to go for everything, but to hone in on those things which really matter, that build on the strengths that we can clearly see already exist.